Hey guys, so today I wanted to bring Jason Seib on. So this is my third interview. I wanted to keep them short, and basically what these videos are problems that I might run into very often. The first one was sleep. I brought Mark Rogers on to talk about sleep and how it's not just about the quantity of sleep, but also the quality. So even as a busy parent, there's so many things that you can do to get better sleep. Then I got Evan Brand, and he talked about how to start thinking about getting to the root cause of your health issues. And he talked about the difference between functional medicine and conventional medicine and how they're different. Now I have Jason, who I'm very excited about because he is very, very blunt, very honest, super smart. I met Jason, was it here in Lexington when you came with
Yeah.
Sarah? Yeah,
Yep.
they
Yep.
had an everyday paleo course, and I was blown away by his knowledge and his ability to just educate the public on really complicated things like nutrition, because nutrition is very complicated. And this is what I want Jason to talk about. He's a creator of the AltShift Diet. It's very, very successful. And Jason, I want to ask you this. So if AltShift was just a diet, if you didn't talk about meditation and sleep and walking and lifting and the psychology of why you wanted to change in the first place, not just because you hate your body, would AltShift be successful?
No, I think what we would end up with is short-term results that would sell a ton of books, and I would be every author out there that is just in it to sell books. Yeah, you start something like AltShift or a lot of protocols, and you get short-term results, but there's no lifestyle change being added to that, and so what the question then becomes in your mind is or the answer to the question of why I'm fat has to have been, it's only because I eat wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And the mismatch in between the human body and our modern world goes far, far deeper than just, I don't eat the right foods. Yeah, that is a big, big portion of it. And I usually try to get people to start making some modicum of change there because there is more to do. Like when we get people to sit down and meditate, they can develop a perfect meditation practice inside of a couple of weeks. Chances are, inside of a couple of weeks with nutrition, there's still going to be a lot to work on. And exercise is, a big, complicated subject, as you well know. But still, the intricacies of it are easier to apply to a life than, we eat all day. I mean, we eat,
Mm-hmm.
every day, multiple times a day, and learning how to exercise properly can be about going to see somebody like you or me 3 hours a week. It's there's a lot that's going to be done, but it isn't as all consuming as nutrition. So I usually like people to start there. But no, if you're not managing stress, if you're not sleeping properly, like my good friend Mark Rogers just covered for you, if you're not exercising properly, walking daily, you're going to slam into a wall and not be able to get around it because you're distilling this down to too few things. It's human nature to try to change as little as we can because we like our lives. And in reality, nobody's ever had to think about this kind of stuff. I mean, nobody. You go back 20,000 years, and the way we use the words diet and exercise wouldn't even have existed in anybody's language. That would have
Right.
just been insane. Like, wait, there's perfectly good food here, but I'm not supposed to eat it right now? Like, what do you mean? Like, of course, especially if it tastes good, the better it tastes, the better it's got to be for me. And then if you're like, come to the end of a day of hunting and gathering, and you tell your tribe mates, hey, I'm going to run over here and pick up that rock over and over again, put it right back down where it was, and then I'm going to go for a run in a big circle and come right back here. Nothing's going to be chasing me. I'm just going to go in a big circle. They'd be like, okay, when this guy goes to sleep tonight, we got to stab him because he's dangerous. He's crazy. He's lost his mind. But we have to do those things now. So we try to change as little as we possibly can, and I get that, but it's a huge mistake to think that all of these changes are too much, they're way too hard, and so I'm just going to distill it down to one. And that's wrong on both counts. They're not that hard. They need to be baby stepped into sometimes, but distilling it down to one of those things. And people do it with exercise too. You see people that are like, well, I'm doing cardio now because I tried diet and it didn't work.
Yeah.
So any one thing that you try to point out is to be one lifestyle change you try to point out as the be all end all path to your supermodel body is wrong.
I agree. I want you to talk about walking because that's one thing
Okay.
that someone can start right away and stop
Yeah.
thinking about walking, burning calories, cardio, and then really just walking how you tell all your people to do. And I've noticed a huge
Yeah.
difference just on the Facebook group, people talking about walking and how much it's helped them.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I literally tell people, you're not even AltShift compliant if you're not walking. I mean, we try to get everybody lifting and everybody needs to be meditating and all that kind of stuff, but walking we just put right up there as the day you start doing AltShift on any level, you should also start walking because anybody can. But the thing is that we kind of have to reframe people's thought processes because I like people to think of walking as movement as opposed to exercise. Because when people start to try to think about it as exercise, they'll do things like they'll come back to us and they'll go, it doesn't feel very hard. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't feel like I'm burning calories. And that's not the point. The point is that you are built to walk. I mean, we've got this great big calcaneus, this great big heel bone that isn't like any of our ape relatives, and we're super efficient bipedal walkers. And we everybody's job, everybody's career, except maybe the very, very young and the very, very old, would have been you get up, you leave this fire, and we all come back after a whole day of walking. And it wasn't hard. It was like moseying and kind of meandering to get wherever you were going to go. And sometimes there might have been something like sprinting or really hard, something that felt like exercise that would literally depend on your survival or the acquisition of food. But the huge majority of it was just movement. And you can't take any creature on the planet and have it evolve under circumstances that are so ubiquitous to that species, just throughout that species' entire life, and then remove it and expect that species to be healthy. It doesn't make sense. But in the Western world, we make everything hard. So, like look at yoga. Like yoga was awesome, but you know what? We need to get it to like 110 degrees in here because I need to go hard. Dang it! Let's
Yeah.
make CrossFit yoga.
Or the
Like
P90X
just
yoga.
right. Let's just make it nuts because
Mm-hmm.
anything that we do, it needs to be competitive and harder than what that guy's doing, and then we can be like, oh, you just do yoga. I do it way harder than you. You're whatever. You can't even talk to me about this. But I the walking has to be reframed for those people that think that way into something where time is logged doing it, but the intensity is not a factor. It's how many total minutes did you stack up today in which you were moving around. And if you're somebody that sits at a desk all day, your priority for that needs to go way up. We've seen people do some pretty remarkable things. I have a Fitbit on right now, and a lot of the people in the group keep them, and we try to get everybody to get, 10,000 steps is a good goal. And we've seen people who sit all day that were like trying to walk a big chunk at the end of the day and maybe even a little bit in the middle of the day and then parking farther away from the store and all that stuff that actually does add up. We saw those people, namely through Erica, my assistant, who, she works in the gym scene. She would get up every half hour and go to a treadmill and walk for just 1 to 2 minutes. That's it. And so that's doable even if you don't work in the gym scene. You could get up and walk the circumference of the inside of the
Totally.
office, anything like that. And it's just crazy how people are coming back going, I am blown away by how many steps this added to my day. Like, it's shocking to me how I was getting like 8,000 steps trying to figure out how to get to 10,000. And it feels like I didn't do very much and now I'm getting 13,000. Like, how in the world did that? And it's just this. Every half hour to hour, just get up and move a little bit, and you're so much closer to what your body expects.
Yeah, those little small bursts definitely add up.
Yeah.
So so I know you had a huge following before AltShift came out, and then someone like me, like my clients, if I introduce something like AltShift, it's nothing crazy to them because I've been training them. We've talked about sleep, we've talked about meditating. They already know what the paleo lifestyle is like, so it's nothing like completely brand new. Same with your people, and I know you've got new people who've never even heard of paleo before. So this video is going to go out to people who don't know anything. Where do you suggest them to start? They don't know what a carb is or a fat, or they don't know how to lift heavy, or they don't know how to lift in general or move well or breathing. So everything is just new.
Well, I think as far as the nutrition side of it, I'd say the first things you need to do is try to get rid of grains and sugar in your diet. And now I highly suggest that you baby step that process and you start with the one that is the biggest problem for you. If you know you have a huge sweet tooth, you've got to get rid of sugar first. But it doesn't have to be a just rip the Band-Aid off, sit there and white knuckle it in your chair until the cravings finally go away. If you get up every single morning and put a sweetener in your coffee, maybe you should start right there. And the heck with that handful of Skittles you eat off your neighbor's desk every day about 1 o'clock. Don't even think about that. And then or let's say like 5 nights a week you eat ice cream after dinner, deal with that first. And then once you can get, one at a time, get those things out, then start stacking on multiple days. And it's not easy. Nobody's saying the word easy, but you're good enough, you're strong enough to be able to get this done, dear listener. And then, if you bite off more than you can chew, it's always going to be really hard, and you're going to likely fall back and then count that as a failure, and that's not what we want. If you do ever completely fall back, don't look at these things as failures. Look at them as learning experiences. Okay, I tried to take on too much. I'm going to step back and try this again. I use this analogy about a maze. If you were walking through a big hedge maze, in that situation, there's no emotion in it like there is with dieting. So you come to a dead end, you don't sit down and cry or give up. You get up and you go the other way. And you've only made a mistake if you purposely go back down that same direction, expecting it to not be a dead end anymore. Otherwise, you're just learning about how to get to the other side of this thing. So I understand that's an example that has a lot less emotion in it. We're not as hung up on things like getting through a maze as we are the size of our pants. But if you can pull the emotion out of it, you can get there. And then if grains is your thing, then you can start with something like, let's say you get up every morning, you eat oatmeal and whole wheat toast. You might just look at taking the whole wheat toast out. Keep eating the oatmeal. Whatever small enough step you have to take that on the other side of it, it doesn't feel like it smashed you. And then once those two things are gone, then you can start looking at the actual protocol of something like AltShift, where, then you're going to need to learn about things like macronutrients, carbs, fats, and proteins. But there's no point in digging into that kind of stuff if your vices are going to continue to just pin you up against the wall and choke you every day. You've got to get around those things that you have emotional attachments to, those things that trigger a dopamine response that feels like a moment of happiness when really it's just a moment of elation, kind of like when we do drugs. That palatability thing that you're drawn to get that dopamine hit can be really difficult to get around, and it's certainly not worth trying to take on a whole bunch of other goals while that one's still kicking your butt.
Perfect. Last rant. I've heard you rant about this before because it's a huge issue with people and food. Dave and I make food a priority. We might be super broke. Other things will come off the list before we start to buy low quality foods or just real food in general. That is never really an issue or it is an issue with money, but it's always a priority no matter what. I've heard you rant about it before. So one of the biggest excuses of people not eating healthy is it costs too much money. I can't afford to go to Whole Foods, or I can't afford to get organic stuff. Talk about that. That's the last thing I want you to kind of rant about.
Yeah, that's a tough subject for me because you do see so many people that the number one place where they try to save the most money in their entire life is at the grocery store. Mm-hmm. And that is to me, and I'm not going to try to tell anybody how to live their lives, but if that were me, that would be me making a massive misunderstanding about everything that happens in my world and in my life. My body, my physical capacity, my vitality, my energy levels, all of those things, the sum of those things add up to every life experience that I have and my ability to get through this life and enjoy it and love it. My ability to interact with my kids and my wife is sort of, it's affected prior to me ever even getting home, and how I'm going to interact with them in my next interaction is affected by how I feel today. And it's like that for all of us. But we negate that when we go to the grocery store and go, you're right, steak is more expensive, I'm going to go ahead and get macaroni and cheese, because we forget that the immediate experiences will be completely preempted by our health. Like, if I have full of aches and pains and I don't sleep very well at night and I can't stand the way my body feels or even the way my body looks, all of that adds up to my basal level of happiness. And happiness should be better described as that sort of foundation that you go up and down from, not these momentary experiences. Oh, I won the lottery. You know what? You take people that are living in a single wide trailer and you have them win $150 million in the lottery, and roughly 2 months later, according to all the psychology research, their happiness levels are right back where they were. Those things are the hedonic treadmill, they call it in psychology, will always pull you back to from wherever you start. And health is and vitality is a huge deciding factor in where that line is going to be for you. So when people ask me things like, how much do you spend in the grocery store? Literally whatever I have to spend to get the things that I know I'm going into the grocery store to buy, regardless of what the price is. And if you triple the cost of groceries today, I am going to go into the grocery store and buy the same things that I always would have, and that tripling of the cost of groceries will only affect other things in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I have a car payment right now. I would probably sell my car, buy a used car to avoid a car payment so that I could buy better groceries. I would, I don't drink a lot of coffees, but if you're somebody who goes to I do drink coffee, but not like Starbucks, I would cut that out. I would probably have to, in my own world, I'd be like, okay, well, we're going to get rid of Netflix and we're going to get rid of Hulu and cable and all that other stuff that adds up to these things. What in the holy hell is Netflix compared to my health? And so when you don't agree with those things, I can't really argue with you because I can't tell you how you should live your life. I can just tell you that to me, that's batty. That's absolutely nuts to be like, this is too expensive. I have an expensive purse and expensive shoes and a car that uses too much gas and a car payment. And we go on vacation every year, but I will shovel crap into my body so that I can chase the next momentary experience to try to fake happiness. I'm sorry, I cannot say that I'm the same kind of person as you. I don't know how else to say it. Maybe that makes me a jerk, but this is how I live, and I can't make anybody else live this way, but that's the deal.
No, it's perfect. I mean, you just have to make it a priority. It's, and it comes first. Like you said, if it makes you feel awful, then maybe I would hope it would motivate some people, but some people that's not even a motivation. They feel crappy when they eat crappy food, and that's still not a motivation, which is sad, but maybe they'll come along. But this was perfect. Where can people find you? What I really like about the whole AltShift thing is that you get a lot of support. You don't just get the book and you read it and then that's it. Do it on your own. Good luck. So where can people find you and more information on AltShift?
They can find us at AltShiftDiet.com for the information on the book and lots of blog posts and things like that. Constantly posting free information there. We have an AltShift Facebook group that has over 6,100 people in it, I think, right now. And there's tons of support there. Once you're doing the protocol and you want help with it along the way, you want help with the numbers and things like that, then we have forums. Those are paid forums. We do charge $10 a month for them. You can get tons and tons of free information in the group, but my hands are kind of tied in that I can't go into a public forum like the group and talk about all of the details of the guidelines of the book, or else, obviously we do need to sell books. This is how I feed my kids. So, we keep the forums closed, but as affordable as we can make them. And then the YouTube channel is where I'm putting a lot of my focus since this last April, and I'm putting out videos like every other day. Going there and subscribing will allow people to see everything new that I put up there. And then we have a podcast, the AltShift Podcast. I do with Mark Rogers, actually. We put that out every Thursday morning. And I'm probably leaving 5 things out, but that should get everybody started. Yeah, no,
I will put everything on the notes and on the website, and that way they can easily click on that. But thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet.
This is going to be really great. I think a lot of people benefit from it, especially where to start. You don't have to change everything at once. That's the biggest thing. They feel like the diet needs to change, the lifestyle, the meditation, the sleeping. And if you just change one thing and take baby steps, and that way you feel more accomplished because it's just one thing at a time and you won't feel overwhelmed, especially with the people who are younger and my age. Because right now they feel like nothing will, tear them down, but it will catch up to them. It caught up to me when I was 19, which I'm very thankful for because I had to change everything in my lifestyle because I got really sick. But not a lot of people get sick this young, and then they end up learning the hard way. Yeah, it's a hard lesson because humans aren't wired for the long view. We don't
We have a really hard time thinking over decades. So
yeah. Well, thank you so much. I will
yeah.
click recording now. Hang on.